Hello and welcome to Contractor Success Tips. Today's guest is Mark Labourdette with Design Build Specialist.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Contractor Success Tips. I am Ed Earl, the Zen Builder, and here with my colleague Paul Sanneman.
How do you do?
And today we are pleased to have as our special guest Mark Labourdette from Design Build Specialist. Mark, welcome.
Yeah, nice to be here.
So
Mark,
Paul,
why don't you give people a little background about your company? You know, your backstory in
Okay.
3, 4, or 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I can shorten it right up. So started out of high school as a senior and was heavily involved in insurance work for many, many years in the 80s and 90s, and was heavily involved in that. Insurance work kind of gave way, decided in 2002 I wanted to get out of the restoration business because it was not going the way I wanted it to go, and then decided remodeling is really what I love to do. So founded Design Build Specialist then, and ran that. That went for 2012, and then I also bought another company, Home Story and Marin, a door company. So Design Build Specialist has been operating since 1980 up until now, and with the door company started in 2012.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about your volume. How you've been in business a while? So what's your
Right.
gross volume?
So I hit my first million in 1991, and we've done between 1.5 to 2 million for every year since then. I've been a person who's been more about gross profit dollars than I have been about dollar volume. The best year we ever had was $5 million in 2007. There was when we had the great plan of going to 10 million, and then hit 5 million, then lost my ass for the next couple of years of the Great Recession, and decided, you know what? I kind of like being a smaller company, so I've purposely kept it small. We hit 2 million consistently every year, and if all things go well, I won't get anything past that.
Okay, good. So, and just curious, what's your average gross margin?
We run at 33% produced, estimated at 40, produce it at a 32. So we have a pretty good slippage. But I've gotten lazy in my old age, so we have pretty good slippage, but we produce at 33.
Okay, great. So, a couple things about your company. I think one thing that I found absolutely fascinating is I call it getting your foot in the door. So can you explain to our listeners, why you bought the door company, what the door company is supposed to do, and how you market the door company, and how that ties in remodeling?
Right. So in 2012, I saw this technology. It's where the door frame and jamb stays in place and have a digitizer. Takes a digital imprint of the opening, and a manufacturer at that time, it was supposed to be Geldwin, was going to produce these doors and send them to us painted, cut to fit. So you get a new door, new lock, new hinges. And I thought it was a fantastic product because we've done that old school way for many years prior to that. So I bought into this company. Geldwin promptly tanked. In 2012 and 13 were pretty rough years. And so the investors got together and built our own plant. So we have our own plant in Sacramento now that does it. And it's the reason I wanted to get into it because I wanted a consistent revenue stream of an entity that had repeatable business that I could use as a vehicle to only to generate leads for design build, but also to be the real tool that I was going to use to sell the business. Because if you had something in place that paid you money in, money out, money maker, and the construction could piggyback off of that for free. To me, that was something that someone would say, "Hey, I could buy that, and that'd be a great thing to buy."
You must have read that book called Build to Sell, right?
No, but I know of it. Yeah.
So that was your strategy. Let's build something and I'll be able to sell.
Build something to sell as opposed to, because a $2 million company that has me as the primary salesperson is a little bit of a hard ticket to sell. Very few pull that off. But a company that, like, I don't really spend any time. I got a salesperson doing the doors. I got a production people. That's a separate entity that runs on its own engine, and I just play the owner role in that. So that's something that could sell. And and it's going to sell for, I'm hoping, a much better factor than your typical construction company because it carries the entire, it's all integrated into the design build company, is seamless. So it's like,
So walk us through the process of somebody calls you, wants their doors replaced. How do you transition from replacing doors to remodeling the house?
right. So the client goes through the process of buying the doors. So they do it. Our typical sale is $7,500. Close rates at running at 55%. It's a quick turnaround product. That person goes on to our newsletter. Every month I do a video newsletter that goes out, and the video newsletter, sometimes it features doors, but more often it features design build work. So
Right.
it's like, we're the parent company of Home Story Marin, and look at this, what we're doing. So I've been doing that now for several years, and video is huge. I mean, it funnels everything to the DBS website. So it's all those clients, because the door business will turn. Our first year, we sold $1.2 million in doors in 2012. Lost my ass, another story. But that translated in, at the time, the average sale was $2,300. So it was a lot of clients. So
Right.
my database quickly bulged. I got 1,300 people that now get my newsletter. So,
Right.
so
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Mark. Do you actually turn you build a client base with it, then they decide to remodeling with you, or do you actually turn the door sale into remodeling sale, like on the spot? So, well, since you're doing the door, why didn't we do the living room or you do the bathroom?
I mean, we could, but we don't. There's no need for that because there's no need for it. So because we're cherry picking our design build stuff. The reality is, I am well known in my market. We've been doing this a long time, so I turn down far more work than I take on. So, but I want it to be so. If I just use the door business as a leader for design build, I could do a factor of 2 or 3 what I'm doing now. But we specifically don't do that because I don't want or need that work. But somebody who's going to buy the company, I can say, look, here's
Right.
all the work we turned down. I want you to buy the company, and I want you to go build the team that's going to sell. Realistically, we should be like a $7-8 million would be where I think our level mark would be, and that's I think that's a very, very. I could show somebody how they could easily make the transition from 2 to 7. I could literally have it already mapped out. So it's not.
So,
Doesn't take
so
a rocket
then
scientist to see
the
that.
question would be, Mark, how do you get? I mean, you're a sort of done well at social media, and I sometimes have my reservations on that. Our Ed and I go around about it. So, how does social media work for you? What do you spend on it? What do you do? And can you tell our listeners, this is how to get social media to work in a construction company?
Right. I can tell you that there's no silver bullet. I can tell you that and I can also tell you that it's different in every market. So how it's a mix. Think of it like a secret sauce. Like every market has its own secret sauce of mix that will work. And it took us a lot of trial and error to get that mix down right. Because what we have found is the markets for the door business, for example, is San Diego, LA, Sacramento, Washington, Oregon, Chicago, Philadelphia, Minnesota. So you have all these markets. Not a one of them is the same. Not a one. So what works in literally what works in San Diego will not work in LA. What works in LA won't work in San Francisco. So it's a secret. I'll walk you through the general formula of how it works, but you have to figure your own mix that really works. Like, for example, people think that print ad is dead. It's not. It's mostly dead, but it's not all the way dead. So we found one little vehicle that's just a simple, it's called Book of Savings. It kills it. Why does that kill it and every other print thing doesn't? I have no idea. And that feeds us, Lee. But in the social media world,
So just so you know, the audience, it's called a marriage mailer. It has a bunch of coupons in it, right?
right, exactly.
And they send it to everybody in town, and people look forward to save money on pizza or save money on doors or whatever.
Right.
It's a coupon book, right?
Right. And if they look us up, Home Story Marin, all of a sudden, voila, you get all kinds of. We show up in a lot of different ways. But the social media component, I hired somebody to manage that because I realized I don't have the propensity, time, patience to do it. So I hired a professional person. I pay her $48,000 a year Half of that's paid by the door company. Half of that's paid. No, sorry, I'm sorry. Let me back that up. That's the overall budget. So it's $2,000 to her, 1,000 for each company to manage social media. So that's so the general gist is client buys doors. We get a before and after photo of the doors. We try to get video testimonials. We want them to post on their social media site their product. Look at our doors, woohoo! Right? That's the holy grail. Because one client we tagged on to their social media site had 10 followers. The next client we had turned out she was a radio station famous person. She had like 10,000 people on her. All of a sudden, hey, check out Home Store. I did my doors. So there's that. That's our loop. We get the testimonial, we get the review, but we really want them to post on their social media site the product they just bought from us. So that's one loop. And then she takes that content.
How do you get people to do that? To post on their
we send them an email link that's a simple click the button for review, and the content is there to add on to their Facebook page. So they have to do the work.
For them, you say, "I love my door. It's awesome. Buy one," or what?
No, it's here's the content to put onto your Facebook page. So they have to the link takes to their page so they can put it onto their page. They have to do it.
They have to write it.
They have to write that. We make it as easy as we can with the rules that Facebook has in place. And it's not everybody that does it. It's 1 in 10 that will do that. But then she also does. We send them the newsletter, which circles back. She also does all the Facebook stuff of ads and reposts and all the Facebook. Don't even ask me to explain all that. I don't know it, nor do I want to know it. So I pay her to do that. And she does. She just has the plan of how to leverage Facebook, and she's got a couple other outlets she uses, and we're getting ready to start an email blast specifically for doors as well.
Okay. Do you use LinkedIn at all?
She it's all her world. Yeah, she does LinkedIn. Some LinkedIn is business to business.
What's your total marketing budget?
Total marketing is supposed to be 48,000. We're going to get up. It's going to be up to 58,000 now, which is more than I want it to be. So, but we're hoping to hit 600,000 in volume. If we do, then it's great. If we hit 500,000, it's not. I want it to be 10% of sales. That's the figure. So if all-in marketing is 10% of sales or less for a specialty company, that's a win. Right now, it's hovering in the 12.5%, 14%.
And how does that work with your construction company? Is it the same?
No, construction company. No, contractors typically only spend 1% maybe on marketing. Maybe if they're really like a Bruce Case Remodeling maybe does 4 to 5%. They spend more than typical. But the average contractor doesn't spend anything. You ask them what their marketing, literally.
What's the marketing budget, right?
It's they literally have nothing. They may tell 0.5% on some bogus thing that they do. The rule, contractors don't. And they go, they give you the classic, it's all about reputation and repeat business referral, la da da.
Their marketing plan is to answer the phone, right? That's how they
answer the phone, right? And return phone calls, maybe.
Right. And I know some contractors that actually pride themselves on the fact that they don't market, and I go, well, I don't get it, because if you look at, I use the example, most successful companies in this country that are in the Western culture are marketing companies that fund their marketing with some kind of product or service, whether it's Nike or Costco or Amazon. They're all marketing companies, right?
Right.
Even Starbucks. And they fund that marketing with a product or service, but they're very clear that the core of their business is marketing. But most contractors, that is a total foreign concept.
They're right. Or now everyone's so crazy busy and just swamped with work. I don't market. So, well, let me just let you a little secret of being through 4 recessions. It says the best time you better be on your game marketing the most is when you're your busiest.
Right.
Because you're not ready to be not.
Advice on that. So what did you do when the COVID thing hit?
Interesting, because everything stopped, right? Obviously, everything, big giant pause. But I had to make the decision whether or not we were going to continue to market, even though everyone was saying there weren't going to be work. We continued to market straight through it, and it's paid dividends big time now. We're just booming.
Okay.
To give you the numbers. So So we sold $1.2 million in doors and another $1.2 million in remodeling um, in 2012. And that's when we first started. And then it all tanked. And so when we rejiggered back up the door business, it was started out at 280, then went to 350, and then went to 390, then hover for. Well, this because we doubled down in the marketing during the whole COVID thing, we hit $100,000 sales a month.
Wow.
So it's because everything just took off.
Okay. So you've been bringing to, that you have the idea of what is it, build to sell. So what is your exit strategy? And maybe we can help you with that.
Yeah. So the exit strategy is to have the door business. I want the door business really to be doing $1 million, $1.2 million would be the right number, because it would generate 600,000 in overhead dollars. 600,000 overhead dollars will pay for the overhead for both the door company and the construction company, giving me a salary on top of that. And so the door company's doing that. The design build will always do $1.5 million, $2 million. I can do that in my sleep without even thinking about it. So now you're talking about a company that's 2.5, 2.7, and I'm hoping to sell that entity for a factor of maybe 1.5, 1.2, is probably a realistic number, which means it's probably less than $1 million realistically.
Well, also, you know how successful people are at selling construction businesses, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me follow that model.
That's right. It doesn't, I've got one guy who's probably going to sell for several million, but he uses a model that I think we might be able to help you with. And that is, the only one I've actually seen work, Mark, is when you bring somebody into the business who's younger than you, a little more, driven, and you can build into the business and convince him over time that it's better to buy your business than go in competition against you.
Right.
And so it makes sense for him or her to stay there long enough where their goal is to transition you out, and usually takes 4 to 5 years. And so if you have the right guy or girl, they come in with the intention of, okay, I'm going to own this business in 5 years. I'm going to pick a number, maybe make 80, 100,000, but I'm going to take every bonus and help buy stock in the company. And over time, 4 or 5 years, I'll be able to transition out. I'll have paid Mark his million, whatever he wants for the business. The business has sort of bought itself. Meanwhile, you take more and more time off, more and more time in Hawaii. You sort of phase yourself out of the business. That person phases themselves in. And then that's the one I've ever actually seen it done that worked.
Right. In 2007, when we hit 5 million, I had 2 people in sales, and both were, I was gearing them both up. One was my brother-in-law, which was a perfect win, and the other one was a real raucous A salesman guy. And then, that whole thing went tits up. So it's like, so I get the idea of someone working for you, but finding that guy, tough animal.
Well, that's where we might be able to help, because most contractors suck at recruiting. They're not good at social media, but recruiting is just like social media, right? They decide, well, all I have to do is run an ad on Indeed and show up, right? I'm done.
Right.
And it's sort of like social media. All I need is a website and a Facebook page, and I'm done. And it isn't like that. Recruiting, I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years now. It's a science. You got to post on all the social media. Social media as well as LinkedIn, as well as all that. There's 28 job boards. You've got to do that like every day. You have to buy special software, special testing. We spend like $500 a client just on software.
Yeah, so, I hire all my new hires come from a company called Workyard. I don't do any hiring anymore just for that reason. I suck at it. I'm not good at it at all. And they pay. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a 6-month contract that cost me about $7,000 to $8,000, and I've had 2 people go through that. Because you pay a premium until you buy out the contract, and but it has turned. They've both been outstanding hires. So
So maybe we can help with that. So that's one of the things you've learned, I think, as a lesson is you subcontract everything, including recruiting and marketing. You just don't subcontract your electrical and your plumbing, right?
Right. Pretty much.
So that's good. So question, Mark, if you were going to give advice, let's say all the contractors listening to you and say, okay, you've been in this, whatever, how many years?
Oh, many years. I'll do the math. 1980 to now is 4 years I care to count. It's 40 years. But I've been
40,
really doing it, yeah, 40 years. I've been
40. Okay. So after 40 years of being in this business, I mean, you're still there, so you're a survivor. You've been through a couple recessions. You've been through the hard times. So what advice, if you had like, 3 pieces of advice, these are the 3 things that I will tell people that are starting out or in the business, that if they do these are the most important things that they focus on.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's the you have to focus on your systems and procedures, your process. Most contractors have no process. They have no systems. They have no procedures. Standardize, organize, simplify. That's the SOS. I mean, and so from an organizational concept, build a business that has structure, process, systems, and procedures, and that is no small feat.
Well, so I call it, and some of my clients, I say, most construction business are I call them personality driven, right? They run on the personality of the project manager, the personality of the owner, the personality of the salesperson. So if you remove the person, it dies.
Right.
Whereas if it's process driven, like somebody can quit McDonald's tomorrow and they don't really care because it's all process driven, right? So you're unusual. You'd say you have a pretty much process driven construction company?
We've been that way for 20 years. I mean, it's been a long time, if not longer. So it's yeah, but you hear people say that though, but really it's the problem is that nobody tells you what the systems and procedures are. Everybody reinvents the wheel. It's like maybe you hire a consultant for one part of it or another part of it. Then you get people like Luberger that have built a book, made a book that no one would buy because we don't read. As a contractor, read instructions. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So realistically, you hire a consultant to help you work, who understands system procedures, and have them help you get it done. That's the only way I've ever seen it really work successfully. And financial management, contractors are not born, financial gurus. They don't understand any of this stuff. I mean, I was shocked how many contractors I've met over the years that can't read a P&L and don't understand a balance sheet. They don't understand. And if I had one piece of advice, specifically, is understand the concept of margin, and you better work out a system procedure to track your margin and know what your margin is. And if you don't, you're going to be in trouble.
Okay.
The world opens up.
We've got one is systems and procedure. That's one. What's 2?
2 is become a financial professional. Take classes, hire whatever you got to do. Get professional on financial issues, and I mean professional. Like, you need to become in my opinion, it's not just the superficial. You really got to understand this stuff. You got to be able to talk to an accountant intelligently about, what a P&L is, all the line items, what they are, what a balance sheet is, what owner equity is, what an asset and a liability, all the things. You need to understand that stuff. It can't just be, I hire my accountant to do that. Man, you are in trouble.
So do you use like Buildertrend, Procore, any kind of process?
No, Buildertrend. I like Buildertrend. I just don't want to transition into. It's not that if I could wave a wand and everybody in the whole operation use it, I would.
Right.
But what we have works, so I don't want to why.
If it's broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
Right?
if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if I was starting over, I would definitely get into something like Buildertrend. There's a couple other ones in the market that are really good.
Yeah, Procore, Construct, they're all good.
Procore, very good. I love that outfit. It's but I don't have a need to. It just no need. Everything we have works. It functions. And it's streamlined. I mean, I've spent years, drilling down on the breakdown. Well, why did that break down? Get at the core reason why it broke down. Solve that problem. Redo until all of a sudden, hey, guess what? Kind of works.
Okay. So now, this is the last thing. One thing that you've got somebody who's a contractor. You're visiting his house. You're on the airplane. You're ready to walk out there. You may never see this guy again, but you really like him, and you say, John, if you don't remember anything else, just remember what?
Oh man. Well, you need to be a continual learner. You better be continually learning and educating yourself on how to be a businessman.
Okay.
If you don't stop, if you don't continue to do that, you're going to be in trouble. Something simple like, do you read? Like, what book are you reading now? You know,
Right.
have you ever read Good to Great? Have you ever read Seven Habits of Highly Successful People? Covey stuff on leadership. You know, do you read? Just something
Well, we're in
simple.
an information. We're in the first time that all information in the world is virtually free, right? You use
Right.
your phone. Do people actually use it? It's interesting. I mean, all the information in the world is free, and people, waste their time on the news. I mean, it's amazing what people actually watch, right?
Right. So as contractors, become kings in their own fiefdoms. They think of themselves as little demagogues, and they don't pay attention to anybody. They don't want to learn. They don't want to listen, and they just continually make the same mistakes over and over again. Beat themselves. It's just shocking how often I've seen, because I've had a chance to go into and really analyze construction companies for many years and really get to the nitty gritty of what's going on in those companies, and it is just time and again. It's the same thing.
Right.
You go to Florida, some little backwood town. Oh, he's the king. You try to tell him something, don't want to listen. I say, hey, you see your financials here? You're about ready to go out of business. What you're talking about?
So, I would summarize it in this. I'm sure you've heard this before, Mark. You should work harder on yourself than you do on your business.
Right. It's just emotional intelligence. If you forget about business, just spend time understanding what emotional intelligence is. You'd be head and shoulders above everybody else.
Absolutely.
But contractors just don't listen, man. They just don't pay attention. Just shocking.
I'm talking to somebody who spent his whole life trying to get them to listen. I totally realize.
Yeah, right. Well, you make your living off, but there are enough that are smart enough to realize that they need help, and it's.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you've heard the axiom that a consultant is somebody that borrows your watch to tell you what time it is. But I can't tell you how many contractors don't have a watch and they not a clue what time it is, right? They got a financial statement, they don't know how to read it. They just don't do that. So
I never look at them. I mean, if you lined up 100 contractors and asked how many of you look at your financial results of your job costs, all your job once a month? Out of 100, how many do that? 10?
10 maybe.
15 maybe?
Right.
I mean, it's just shocking. It just blows me away. I mean, it's, like let me say.
Right. What's amazing?
I've got $500 in my pocket. Yeah, I'm doing
good.
great.
Yeah, I got checks. My checking's good, right?
Right. I mean,
well, that's good. Well, Mark, thank you very much. Ed, do you have any final comments since you're the Zen builder about what Mark had to say?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you, Mark. Particularly your comments there at the end were very, very refreshing and very unique in that you are correct. Most contractors don't have a realistic view of themselves and their industry, but you definitely do. So I'm sure our listeners are going to appreciate that refreshing and frank perspective on our construction.
It saved them 40 years if they just listen, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know what it was. Because I was out of high school. No one taught me anything. I had to learn everything myself. I was working selling Florsheim shoes, and the only reason I got self-employed is because my boss wouldn't let me go snow skiing. So I said, "Screw this! I'm going to become self-employed." So it's like, in '82 the floods hit, and everyone had all this damage, and people started hiring me. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. They should have never hired me. They should have given me the time of day.
Right.
But I talked people into it, and they just figured it out.
There you go.
Wow.
Cool. Well, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. And I hope people listen to you because it would save them a whole lot of time.
A whole lot of time.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for joining us here on this episode of Contractor Success Tips. I think that your tips you shared with our listeners are going to be very, very well appreciated. So thank you again for your time, Mark.
Fabulous. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.